Going to show you how you can use DeepSeek AI chatbot, G2.com, and Fiverr to make money online by starting a drop servicing online business, reselling lead generation for SaaS. First of all, open up DeepSeek.com and type in this prompt. Secondly, go to G2.com and finally register a Fiverr account with the link in my description. I'm gonna explain you everything step by step because I've personally made money with lead generation. Step number one, according to DeepSeek, is understanding the SaaS industry. So the SaaS industry stands for software as a service. So what we're essentially looking for, we're looking for B2B SaaS companies that are needing clients. How are we gonna find these companies? So this is where G2.com comes into play. So what we're essentially going to do here, we're going to type in B2B and then type SaaS. So let me explain how you can actually make money from these companies. And there is literally thousands and thousands and thousands of these B2B SaaS companies. G2 is an aggregator that aggregates a lot of these B2B and B2C as well SaaS companies in here. And what we're essentially going to do is we're going to offer them a service that you don't need to know how to even fulfill. And this is because we're talking about drop servicing. As you know, most of my videos, if you watch some of my videos, I talk about drop servicing all the time. It's a business model where you resell other people's services at a profit and you make money, okay? So how are we gonna do that? Well, we're also going to use Fiverr, as I told you in the first part of this video. Fiverr.com, right? And type in lead generation SaaS. So as you can see here, there's people who are actually offering this service of lead generation. What is actually lead generation and how does it work? So first of all, if we go back to DeepSeek, you need to understand the SaaS industry, but you also need to understand what is actually lead generation, B2B lead management, B2B list building, email list building for B2B. So this is how a typical lead generation final product looks like. Okay, so if, for example, we find a B2B company in, let's say, a healthcare industry, this is what it would look like. So you've got a company name, right? You've got a website, you've got a first name, last name, if possible, right? Title, email, location, LinkedIn, etc., depending on what your client needs. Okay, so this thing, we can actually resell at a profit to B2B SaaS companies. So first of all, how do you actually then sell these templates with these emails and stuff like that, right, to these SaaS companies? What they're looking for? Well, typically, as I said, they're specifically looking for emails, phone numbers, and they want to look for decision makers, technical director, for example, tech director, CIO, CTO, things like that. So people were essentially in charge of buying software as a service solutions for their company. You don't know how to generate these lists. Chances are you don't know how to do that because these guys typically, they engage into what's called scraping, okay? So they're gonna go and actually scrape a lot of different databases, right, of companies that your potential clients will need, okay? And from those, these kinds of things like a LinkedIn Lead Navigator, Google Maps, it can be Google Search, okay? And he's even showing how he's doing that, okay? And then they're gonna compile a list like that. So if you don't know how to do that, you wanna partner up with one of these guys, okay? Because the way to essentially make money from this is, as you can see, for example, this guy, for $100, he's gonna give you 1,000 verified leads. Now, what also verified means? Verified simply means that he is actually gonna check the email, that the email actually is legit and that the email actually works. He's not gonna do like any emailing and stuff like that, but he's actually gonna check if those emails are legit. So as you can imagine now, 1,000 verified leads to some of these B2B SaaS companies could be worth $1 million, if not more. Because all you simply need to do is you need to think about, okay, so let's just say if you get 1,000 verified leads, if their service costs, software costs, let's say, I don't know, $5,000, let's say a year, which isn't even that much because B2B SaaS can be 5,000 a month, if not more, okay, in many products, right? So they literally, if they get just one client from this 1,000 verified leads, they're gonna make $5,000. What if they get, 20 clients? They're gonna make 100K. If they get 200 clients from that, they're gonna make $1 million, okay? Obviously, from 1,000 leads, they're unlikely to get 200 clients, but 10 or 20 clients is actually quite realistic. So they can make huge returns. That's why what you can essentially do is you can actually, offer these packages. For example, let's say we want to mark this up. So $100 he's selling for 1,000 verified leads. We could say $500 is 1,000 verified leads. Bro, it's 5 times more than what this guy is selling, and we can offer to these companies. We can give them 1,000 leads for $500. You're gonna make $400. Now, the other tip that I'm gonna give you, which is very, very important, try to land as big of a deal as you can. So for example, instead of trying to sell this 100 verified leads, tell them I can, let's start, for example, with, 10,000 leads, okay? So what essentially you're going to do straight away, right, is you're going to be selling it for $5,000. $5,000, and your cost here is going to be $500. So you're going to make $4,500. I know you might think, oh man, this is a lot of money. Like, who's going to pay me like $5,000? Well, they're getting 10,000 verified leads. That's a lot. Okay. And also, as you can see, guys, there's more and more people making money in my community, in my school. Just the other day, this guy, right, made a profit of $8,000 by finding a client and, helping him to secure 80K funding. So, there is this niche as well, which is very, very interesting, of helping other B2B clients to get funding. He made 10% commission of $8,000. So it is possible to make big money. Drop servicing is not just about thumbnails and stuff like that where you make a few $100 a month. No, you can make a lot, and lead generation is one of those services where you can make a lot of money. Now, step 2, according to DeepSeek, find reliable providers. This is really, really important. Full disclosure, I haven't actually used this guy, okay? I'm just showing him because this listing looks pretty good. And also for specifically B2B SaaS, you're not gonna have that many people, okay? As you can see, 48 results. If you wanna actually broaden this search, you can remove the SaaS, okay? And you're gonna get a lot more people. As you can see, 34,000 results. So honestly, there is literally an crazy amount of people. But if you put B2B SaaS, then it's gonna be very, very targeted. And also the prices, typically, if you add additional keyword like SaaS, the price is gonna be slightly higher. So you may wanna do research without this keyword of SaaS in these kind of places. So choose a good supplier, look at the data, what they're providing, how their data looks like, ask some questions for them as well. What do you provide? How quickly you provide it, and all of that kind of thing, okay? And do you work in B2B SaaS industry, for example? Ask those relevant questions, right? And you might even find cheaper suppliers where you can make even more money, okay? Now, with that in mind, second point is test their services. Now, this is a high ticket service. As I wrote in the title of this video, with this niche, I'm able to make $40 an hour in most cases because I'm not having to work that much. And this is actually a very, very high margin business, okay? So it's important that you test the quality. If you get a client, for example, that's willing to spend, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, you actually may want to invest $10, right? To just test the kind of quality they're giving you, because you can make such a huge payout if the quality is good, and if your client will actually like the results. Now, how you can test it? So like I said, if you buy something like this, you literally just get the data. So for $10, you're gonna get 100 verified leads, right? And then ask for the requirements of getting SaaS, B2B SaaS clients information, for example, something like this. And then you just check those 100 emails. Is the email correct? Is the website correct? Do the names match something that you can see on LinkedIn, etc., etc.? If it matches, then typically it's going to be good, and probably he's done a good job. He's just, exported them from LinkedIn Sales Navigator and things like that. The step 3, which is building your online presence. Now, for this specific niche, right, you could create your own website, but it's really not that important, because the way we're actually going to approach this is we're going to approach it that we're a freelancer focusing on, specifically generating leads for B2B SaaS. So the way I'm going to give you the message in this video that we're going to be needing to send to our potential clients is going to be from the standpoint that you're actually a freelancer offering this service. We're not an agency, okay? The reason I do that is because, if you think about it, what these companies want cheap leads, okay? The minute you look like an agency, they might think about, yeah, this is gonna cost us a lot of money, so maybe we're just gonna pass, okay? Because this industry, the B2B sales, B2B SaaS companies, they really need a lot of leads, literally thousands of leads, okay? And maybe it's not the best to have a B2B SaaS agency. Better have it as a freelancer. But of course, if you want to have an agency website, that's totally fine. And really, it shouldn't be a problem, okay, if you don't have it. Now, leverage social media, develop a portfolio and stuff like that. What is a portfolio in such a case? In such a case, a portfolio is something like this. Honestly, all you gotta do really when you're connecting something is just show, something like this. That is your portfolio. You really do not need anything else. And then when it comes to social media, we're actually not gonna do that. What we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go the email marketing route. I'm gonna show you how to get emails, what to send to them, and things like that. Now, step number 4, according to DeepSeek, define your service offerings. So, service packages, like I said, you really want to make sure that you're selling as many of these leads as possible at the very first instance. I know there is a tendency to think, oh, let's start with a smaller order. If it works out, then we can do a bigger order and stuff like that. But it's really not a good thing in this case, because typically these larger companies, these startups, right, in the SaaS space, they're probably going to give you just 1 or 2 shots for you. So like you're going to be able to work with them for a limited time, and you want to make a lot of money from that partnership. They're unlikely going to be ordering this for, a continuous basis for a few months or a year. More likely, you're going to make a couple of $1,000, $3,000, and then you just move on to the next company, okay? Now, what is really, really important as well is that if you actually want, you can have these packages, okay? But I would probably just mirror what your supplier has. I wouldn't really go too crazy thinking about what I can do, what I cannot do, and stuff like that. I would just literally 5x this price. So, for example, let's say 100 leads is $50, 500 leads is $250, and then 1,000 leads is $500. As a beginner, you can start like this, but like I said, as soon as you get your first client, I would actually bump up these numbers to more leads, okay? So let's say starting at 1,000 leads, then 5,000 leads, then 10,000 leads, simply because getting clients in this niche typically is not gonna be super recurring. It's probably more like they're gonna order once, twice, 3 times, and that is it. But like I said, you can make a crap ton of money with this. So pricing strategy, like I said, there is a possibility for you to charge as much as 5 times more than your supplier is doing. So in this case, like I said, about $500, let's say, for this one, okay? Now, there is another strategy as well, as DeepSeek is projecting. So it's basically charging a month. So for example, each month you're going to send them, let's say, 1,000 qualified leads, right? And let's say it's $500 a month. It is a possibility, but at least from my experience, from my knowledge, not so many SaaS companies actually want to sign up for like a monthly fee, because it's like, they're doing the monthly fee. These companies, these SaaS companies, typically they have a monthly fee. They charge their own clients a monthly fee, and it's like selling ice to Eskimos. You come to them, right, and you want to sign them up for something that they're already doing, right? So you want to get them on a subscription whilst they're selling a subscription as their main business. They can get a bit annoyed and probably not going to really like that. You can try to do this, okay? You can try to do this as a subscription, but in my experience, you're much better off just getting a one-off deal, secure, let's say 10,000 leads or 20,000 leads, 100,000 leads. It doesn't matter. Talk to these suppliers. Some of these suppliers can deliver literally 10K leads, okay? Depending on the niche, depending on requirements, which can be a lot. It could be, like I said, $5K, $8K. It can be a lot of money because this is a huge amount of value. That imagine a salesperson, right? In some of these companies, salespeople actually have to go through and actually get these leads, create these databases. You know, salespeople in companies like this in Silicon Valley, in New York, in Colorado and stuff, and places like that, large metropolitan areas, salespeople are making so much money, 6 figures, 150, 200K a year, okay? Their time is really expensive. If they're creating these databases, they're actually spending a lot of money. Their bosses are spending a lot of money on that. Now, clear deliverables, also very, very important in this, because when you speak to your potential clients, you want to say, okay, how many leads I'm going to bring in? Once you do that, it's going to be very easy for you to actually deliver the result. Because if they ask for, let's say, 1,000 leads, if it's all within their criteria, if it has all the rows that they need, so location, LinkedIn, email, company website, phone number potentially and stuff like that. If it has everything on there, if it's legit data that is actually exported, it's accurate, they should have no reason to reject it, and it should be accepted. If you're actually charging at least $500 or more for each project, you don't want to put this money up front. So all you're going to do is you're going to say, pay me 30 to 50%, and then I'm going to start the work. Once I have these leads, I'm going to send you the leads. If you want any changes and stuff like that, if any of the leads are actually wrong, right, you can come back to these guys and just be like, look, these leads are not correct, or this is missing emails or whatever. So they're going to edit it a little bit, right, give it back to you, and then you send it to the client. If the client approved, then he's going to send you the final money. You have to do that. So then once you get the money from your client, you can buy on here. You don't actually have to spend your own money. In my strategies, typically I show the strategies that are completely free. This is why G2 is really good, because it's showing you all these companies, right, on a silver platter. All you need to do is take their emails, right, add it into a database, and you can start emailing them. So we're gonna soon starting to do that. I'm gonna give you the email message as well, like I said, and talk about follow-ups later on. Now, step 6, according to DeepSeek. So close deals and deliver results. So once you have some of these replies, of course, then you want to schedule a call. So DeepSeek is very right. This niche is high ticket. It's probably quite unlikely that you can sell a lot of these leads without calls, okay? Absolutely no problem to sell something at 200, 300, 400, even maybe 500 or even up to $1,000, okay? It's quite likely that you can sell this without any calls. But as soon as you cross $1,000, honestly, you gotta get on a call with those companies, okay? Because, if you're selling something for 5K, right, they're not going to just wire you, a couple of $1,000s as a deposit and without even talking to you and stuff like that. It's just not going to happen because they won't trust you enough, okay? But if you jump on a call, this should be no problem. So for those of you who are non-English speakers, you may want to work in this niche at a lower ticket, okay? So start with selling, like I said, 100 leads, 200 leads, 300 leads, okay? Maybe gain the trust of the client and then increase, even you can maybe avoid having a call. But if you start straight away with offering a lot of leads, it's going to be a high ticket service and people are going to want to talk to you pretty much. Okay, now onboarding your clients, there's literally not that much to do. All you really need, as DeepSeek is saying, get their target audience, ideal customer profile, and the goals for the campaign, okay? So when we go to some of these guys, right, this is, imagine you get a client. So in my case, I worked, for example, in the real estate space, generating leads for a real estate agent who's looking for people to buy their homes. So what he told me, he said, look, I'm looking for buyers in this location. My buyers should have a budget from X amount to X amount. They're looking to buy in this kind of area. and things like that. So in this case, it's slightly different. You know, they would say, we're looking for SaaS, potential SaaS clients in the healthcare industry. We want small clinics, let's say in a location of, I don't know, San Francisco, California, or just the across the state or whatever. And we also want LinkedIn profiles and stuff like that. So all of this you have to give to your supplier once you're ordering. You know, once you actually get a client, right, and you're actually ready to order, once you get the deposit from your client, you gotta actually, you know, give all of these requirements to your supplier beforehand, so there's no like back and forth revisions and stuff like that. And also you're delivering exactly what your client is looking for. Some of you guys were into you know, software, SaaS and stuff like that. You might ask, but why are we not looking for consumer startups and software providers? Well, the reason is because how your you know, how your suppliers are gonna get emails of consumer clients is not realistic, right? Because these emails are nowhere in public, okay? So that's why we can only work with B2B clients. This is a very important point that only I can tell you in my videos, okay? A lot of people will talk about something similar. They don't give you these extremely important nuances that you need to understand. You know, I trust that you're super intelligent and you understand what I'm talking about. B2B is the only place where we can work because due to GDPR and other regulations, we literally cannot target consumers in this thing, just B2B clients. Go on to Google Sheets and create a, you know, a sheet like this. Website, email, name, contacted on, first time follow-up, second time follow-up, third time follow-up. So, and now let's go back to G2. So, what we specifically are looking for, like I said, we're looking for B2B SaaS companies. We're looking for clients. The fact that they're on here is already a testament that they are looking for clients. Because they're openly looking for clients, essentially, okay? Now, what we want to do here, right, is we're going to go to open up their website. So let's click on that. And on this website, as you can see, so it's a B2B solution, right? So we're going to actually, I want to show you something as well of the pricing. Look, this one is, for example, $600 a month. This is even more. This is like a scale solution. It's probably like a couple of thousand, 3,000 a month. This is what I was saying, you guys. You know, these potential leads are super, super important for them. So even if they get just one client, okay, just one client paying $600 a month, that is essentially $7,200 a year from one client if client stays on for a year. If they get 10 clients, that's 72K. That's why it's very, very good niche where you can make a ton of money, honestly. Also, don't worry about what they do and trying to understand their product. Do not worry about that, okay? All you really need is you need to get their attention. You need to send emails to them. Once they reply to you, then you can research their tool. But honestly, don't worry about even researching what they do, okay? Now, you want to go to actually find their contact page or something where you could find their email. And sometimes you can find their email in terms and conditions and privacy policy. This is a very common way. So what we're going to do, right, is we're going to search for this. No email there. Let's see here. Sometimes you can find this here as well. So yeah, we have one email, which is HR@Maxio, okay? Privacy@Maxio. Okay, this is not particularly valuable, but this email is not bad. It would go to HR, okay? And they might actually, you know, transfer your email to someone else, okay? So let's just save this lead as it is here. And then later, of course, we can maybe find another lead as well. So we don't have the name, we just have the website, okay? In this case, in most cases, you're actually not going to have the name. Let's move on to the next lead. When you reach out to smaller companies, sometimes it's going to be actually a bit easier to even get their contact infos. Okay, so I opened some of these listings. For example, this one. Let's actually go to their website and see if we can get their contact details to offer them this service. So typically, like I said, go to the very bottom, don't spend much time on this, and straight away look for an email. This is the best. Go to the contacts page, okay? So honestly, don't worry that it's going to like info email. This is really, it doesn't matter simply because you're reaching out to B2B clients. You know, these are B2B clients. You're not going to get like personalized emails and stuff like that in most cases. So really don't worry. You're relying on sending 1,000 emails to get 3, 4, 5 clients max. Okay, just a few clients for 1,000 leads. But it's a very high payout. As I showed you, some of these, contracts can be in a few $1,000 profit for you. Now, so we got one more lead. Okay, now let's check this one. So let's see if they have their website somewhere. No, I don't see the website. Very small business, 3 employees only. Okay, so we could actually go and Google it, but let's move on to the next one. Let's look at this one on Ramp. Okay, so let's go to this website and let's see if we can find their emails. So go straight away to the bottom. As usual, there are the emails and contact pages usually there. Okay, yeah, here is the email. Okay, by the way, guys, our main goal here is not to find the largest possible companies. It's actually the other way around. We want to find smaller SaaS companies that maybe have from 5 to 100 employees. That's it. Smaller companies that would be more likely to actually work with you as opposed to larger SaaS companies that are for example owned by Amazon, Microsoft and stuff like that. This is going to be very, very hard to really work with them. They're just not going to be interested. Okay, so let's actually check out this website. Hopefully this will be good as well. So let's see if there is their website somewhere. Let's go to the About page. Yeah, there is there. Okay, so it's a B2B SaaS affiliate network. That's very interesting. Okay, so let's again go back to the very bottom. And what we essentially want is we want their email again. This one is actually in Netherlands, not in the US. Doesn't matter. This strategy works across the world. You can do this in Middle East and Asia. It really does not matter. As you can see, name, we're rarely going to have name if we're doing this quick research. But if you actually go to LinkedIn pages, identify the owners or the managers, the tech directors, you can get these names. But most of the time, it's going to be emails like that are info, hello at, and stuff like this. Now, with this in mind, what we're essentially going to start with, I really like this one. So we're going to copy this lead. And the final stages, we're going to start emailing people. Drop in one of your leads in there, okay? And then you want to use this specific subject line, qualified SaaS leads on autopilot, okay? We're essentially trying to sell a benefit that they're not only going to get leads, but also on autopilot. They don't have to do anything. They pay us and we bring them leads. And of course, like I said, we're going to actually use these people, okay? They're going to give us those leads that we're going to send to our clients. Now, first name, if you have a first name, of course, you can write it. It's going to really increase the conversions in most cases. But if you don't have that, then of course, just get rid of it and actually, and do it like that. And then all you need to do is just send it. Let's see the message. So, hi, I specialize in helping B2B SaaS companies generate 100 to 500 qualified leads per month consistently and on autopilot. Open to a quick chat to explore this for on Ramp. Okay, and of course, we're sending it to their email. So if you're interested in actually starting a drop servicing business, there's 2 ways. You can watch all of my 100+ videos, okay, spend a few months just learning about drop servicing, and then also, of course, actually doing drop servicing is going to take you a while. There's that route. Or if you actually want to learn directly from me, I've got a 3 months drop servicing mentorship where I actually hold your hand. I'll tell you how you should approach this, which niche is working right now, which is the best niches, where there is demand right now. And I'll help you everything, how to start your job servicing business, how to get the first clients and stuff like that. If you're interested, you can apply with the email in one of these corners. Literally just email me word mentorship and I'll give you all the info. Thanks for watching this video. Drop a like, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to see you in the next video.